Welcome back to Colonial. Today, we're diving into the worst punishments in history. Napoleon Bonaparte, one of the most brilliant military leaders and political figures in history, rose from modest beginnings to become the Emperor of France, shaping the course of European history. But his meteoric rise was matched by a dramatic fall. Today, we'll be diving into the fascinating life of Napoleon Bonaparte, his victories, his ambitions, and his eventual downfall. Napoleon was born in 1769 on the island of Corsica, a French territory at the time. He came from a relatively minor noble family, but he had big ambitions. At just 16, he graduated from a French military academy and quickly proved his genius on the battlefield. His rise was swift, particularly during the chaos of the French Revolution. By the late 1790s, Napoleon had become one of the most powerful generals in France, thanks to his stunning victories in Italy and Egypt. In 1799, Napoleon seized power in a coup d'état, becoming first consul of France. Just a few years later, in 1804, he crowned himself emperor. His reign was defined by military success and sweeping reforms. He modernized France with the Napoleonic Code, which laid the groundwork for modern legal systems across Europe. Under Napoleon's rule, France became a dominant force in Europe, with his armies defeating Austria, Prussia, and Russia in a series of decisive battles. Don't forget to subscribe. One of his most famous victories came at the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805, where he crushed the combined forces of Austria and Russia. Napoleon's strategy and tactics were revolutionary, and he was often able to outmaneuver and outthink his enemies, leading to swift and decisive victories. His empire stretched from Spain to Poland, and for a time, it seemed that he was unstoppable. But Napoleon's ambitions were his downfall. In 1812, he made the fateful decision to invade Russia. Despite early success, the brutal Russian winter and scorched earth tactics devastated his army. Napoleon lost hundreds of thousands of men, and his forces were crippled. This disaster marked the beginning of the end for Napoleon. In 1814, after a series of defeats, Napoleon was forced to abdicate and was exiled to the island of Elba. But the story didn't end there. In 1815, he escaped from Elba and returned to France, rallying his supporters for one final bid to reclaim power. His return, known as the 100 Days, ended at the Battle of Waterloo, where his forces were decisively defeated by a coalition of European powers. After Waterloo, Napoleon was captured and exiled once more, this time to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic, where he would spend the final years of his life. Napoleon died in 1821, but his legacy lives on. He transformed France, reshaped Europe, and his military strategies are still studied to this day. Though his dreams of empire ultimately led to his downfall, Napoleon's impact on history is undeniable. Napoleon's first major success came during the Italian campaign of 1796 to 1797, where he commanded the French army of Italy. Despite being outnumbered and undersupplied, Napoleon outwitted the Austrian forces in a series of battles that showcased his tactical brilliance. One of the key moments was the Battle of Lodi, where Napoleon famously charged across a narrow bridge under heavy fire. This victory earned him the loyalty of his troops and the title, the Little Corporal. Another decisive victory came in 1800 at the Battle of Marengo in northern Italy. Napoleon's forces were initially caught off guard by Austrian troops, and it seemed like defeat was imminent. However, in a stunning counter-offensive, Napoleon personally led his troops in a late-day assault that completely turned the tide. The victory solidified his control over Italy and bolstered his reputation as an unmatched strategist. One of Napoleon's most iconic victories occurred in 1805 at the Battle of Austerlitz, often considered his greatest military achievement. Facing the combined armies of Austria and Russia, Napoleon was outnumbered, but he used deception and masterful positioning to lure his enemies into a trap. The French army decisively crushed their opponents, and the battlefield was left strewn with over 36,000 enemy casualties. The victory at Austerlitz ended the Third Coalition against France and made Napoleon the undisputed master of Europe. In the same year, Napoleon achieved another stunning triumph at the Battle of Ulm. With swift and precise movements, Napoleon encircled and trapped an Austrian army without a major battle, forcing them to surrender 60,000 troops without heavy French casualties. This masterpiece of maneuver warfare further demonstrated his genius for rapid and decisive campaigns. The Battle of Jena-Auerstedt in 1806 was another showcase of Napoleon's military prowess, facing the Prussian army, which had been considered one of the finest in